So, welcome to Channel 64 Chats, a monthly podcast with a rotating cast of Channel 64 members that we've made into this community event, later to be posted on the Channel 64 YouTube and Spotify, which is per the request of Casey Blaze, who is actually here with us today. Super exciting. And for anyone listening, this was recorded live in the community Discord. So if you want to join us in the chat and ask questions, make sure you follow that link below to join us. And for those here, we are so glad you are. The topic for today is communication and meetings. So make sure you get those questions in the stage chat to be addressed at the end of the pod. So we're going to start with Casey Blaze. What have you been up to lately?
Well, I have been doing a little bit of a sneaky single player create series, which is doing quite well, and I'm having loads of fun. And of course, Battlecraft, which is SMP that P-Pop and I set up about a year ago now, and that is where I spend most of my time.
Of course, it's always fun to get a little side project to kind of like poke the inspiration, you know?
Oh yeah, I had the itch. I had the itch really bad.
Absolutely.
For something else.
And speaking of side projects and little things to poke the inspiration, Liv Awesome, what have you been up to lately?
Oh, I've had a handful of things on my plate, but probably the biggest one would be my first ever attempt at an SMP. I have made my own SMP known as Frigid, and oh my goodness, it's been a blast running that. I think it's been going for about 2 weeks now. Just a small thing I put together with a handful of creators where we are all basing in a frozen wasteland. The entire world is the Frozen Peaks biome, and it's been a fun challenge to try and think outside the box. It's kind of had my hands tied a bit though, so I haven't been able to do too much work on Channel 64, but yeah, that's what I've been up to.
That's okay though, because here at home we have Archie holding down the fort. What have you been up to, Archie?
Well, since our last chats, I think this came together. So, built this floating island. I have, again, actually been doing a side project. I took part in the Build by Build event, which Ross Cumber put together. And hopefully I'll have a video out on that soon. And then otherwise doing a lot of planning for Channel 64 for the ridiculous things that are coming very, very soon.
Always. And Loki, what have you been up to?
I've been up to COVID, and I've been, aside from that, like I've been also server maintenance got us up to 121. I did the Ross Cumber event, and I Frigid, and also designed 2 roller coaster or amusement park attractions, and still behind.
So when you're sick, you just kind of do nothing, right? Insanity, superhuman as always. And let's see, I have been up to Channel 64, trying to get caught back up to where we need to be. Obviously, we've got chats back. And then I've also been dabbling in streaming more, as well as the Frigid event. Specifically, some very lore-heavy streams. So if everybody's plugging for themselves, I will say those streams are super cool. I did some pre-edited lore. It's really cool. I've had a lot of fun with that.
Woo!
But with that, it's time to get into the main topic. So we're going to be talking about meetings, communication, and really focusing on like what it takes to ensure that you have a good community and that everybody knows what's going on. And it's an ongoing thing, you know, communication never ends. You always have to have good communication if you always want to have a good team and a good sense of what's going on. And so, yes, this is going to be the very self-aggrandizing Channel 64 plug, all of the admin things that I love. So if you're here, brace yourself. It's coming. So, but like we said, we have a few different members right now with different projects going on. And so I want to kind of start with the importance of communication. So I want to check in with Liv, who again is right at the front end of a brand new project. What is it? How important is it to talk to everybody?
I feel like this is a little bit of a jab because, we've had talks, you and I, Arrington, about this sort of thing because I've never done anything like this before. This is all really new to me. So I'm kind of going with the flow, but I'm learning that it's very, very important to talk with people on things, keep people up to date, even people who aren't really in on project, if that makes sense. Because at first I was trying to keep things very subtle, very behind the scenes, but then sometimes that just causes more questions than answers. I kind of realized that, how do I put this into words? I start talking about something, and then I never finish following up on things. Someone told me that I was kind of bad at elevator pitches, which is fair. I'm very good at hyping something up, and then never really finishing what I was saying. So I've been trying to keep everyone all in the know, make sure that I am more transparent, and it keeps there from being more questions than there needs to be. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I don't think I'm making sense.
It's really easy when you get excited about something to kind of just start rambling on, and then like you start talking about all the things you've been thinking in your head that you haven't said out loud. And so you're like, here's all this stuff about this thing that I'm excited about. And they're like, cool, what's the thing you're excited about? And you're like, oh yeah, I didn't tell you. I've just thought about it a trillion times, so I thought you knew already.
Exactly. I'm so good at that. I have a notebook to keep all my thoughts in place because I have so many ideas that I come up with. I've even, not just my notebook, I've got dozens of Google Docs because I will forget them. I'll forget what I've told people. I'll forget what I haven't told people. I'll forget some of my own projects because I'll get caught up with another project and I have to keep my thoughts straight. It's a lot to keep track of. There's a lot of things that you got to think about.
And that's why it's good to have those times set aside to communicate all that. But we'll get to that in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. Casey, now as running Battlecraft, you've got all kinds of communication there between members and things. And tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, communication for us is quite important. I mean, running a modded server, I would say, is quite crazy. We've got all the mods we need to talk about. We've also got events because we're based around Cobblemon. We've got a lot of events that we need to kind of work around and stuff. So like we host tournaments, which trying to get everyone at the same time can be quite difficult. But we also got mods we need to talk about, and yeah, the drill, Arrington. There's a lot going on.
Right. Well, and
yeah.
And as that goes, like we said, there are times that you've got all this communication that needs to happen, and there are times that you're on top of it, and there's times that it lets slip. So this past month, we missed a meeting. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. We missed a meeting, and people were talking, and it's funny because I'm always concerned with how over the top with admin I am, and I know I can be a nuisance. But everybody was saying, honestly, it kind of feels like something is off because we missed that meeting.
That's weird.
Because it is a huge part of keeping that communication alive and making sure that everybody knows what's going on and what's next and what you're working on and trying to improve. So, we don't miss meetings often, but it does happen, whether there's holidays or life gets busy, or just, there are months where there's not a whole lot to report, where everybody's been busy with other things. And so I know around the holidays, we usually miss a meeting or two just because it's so busy. It's so crazy. Everybody's just focused in on what they're working on or real life. And so, it does happen. But at the same time, keeping up with that is super important. And so with this most recent one where we missed a meeting, it was mainly my fault. It was a scheduling thing. and then life got crazy. And so what we did is I fell back on Archie, who has joined the admin team recently and has been super helpful in taking notes after meetings. And so we took this and we made a big old notepad of what the meeting would have and should have been. But in general, Archie, tell us about the Archie notes.
Okay, well, essentially the idea was Errington has a lot on his plate, so that was part of trying to alleviate that a little bit. But then the note process, essentially, after each meeting, is just trying to give people a very brief overview of all the major talking points and calls to action from all of the meetings, linking them to the important information, and just getting things like stream day sorted, getting people to put down when they're available, and helping Errington getting a stream schedule set up and stuff like that. Essentially, I'm doing a lot of the menial tasks to take them off of Errington's hands. That's my major job.
I really appreciate it, though, because for some reason, over time, those menial tasks have become really annoying.
Yeah.
And there's some of them I just really despise doing. They're not hard. They don't take long. It just gets old, you know?
But those menial tasks are also something that's super important.
Extremely.
It's got to be done.
Yeah, and with someone taking ownership of them, it means, like, say things with, like, the stream schedule, rather than that coming up last minute, we can all, since I've been able to take it over, we're sort of like just giving people a little bit more notice of what's going on and everything. It just helps people keep more informed on everything that's going on at the moment.
But like Casey said, like, those things aren't fun, but they're very important, and it's really easy to let those slip. And so that's why, in general, communication is so important to keep your team involved in what's going on. So specifically, I know lately, real life, I've had a lot of work situations this year, and I keep running into these situations where there's just horrible communication, just a complete lack of letting us know what's going on. And all of that information is being conveyed through gossip and talking to other people who talk to other people. And it's a horrible way to do things. And I I hate to be like, hey, I run my Minecraft better than you run your business, but like, yeah, it's so frustrating. But Casey, tell us a little bit more about communication within Battlecraft specifically.
So we're all very open in Battlecraft, because one of the main things is we're all adults at the end of the day, and we're all doing this because it's something that we want to do, and we want to do it all together. So, you know, talking, Discord is quite busy. We've got a few ideas going around at the moment, trying to get everyone's opinion on it, which can be quite difficult. Discord's not the easiest thing, and time zones kind of suck sometimes. I miss a lot of messages because I'm in sunny old England, and most of our members are in America, so that can be a little bit frustrating. But we've got a lot of new members too, which is really good. That kind of brings the communication back up, getting them situated, you know, making sure they understand the rules of the server, which are pretty important, and trying to find the right people.
Absolutely. And so, with you mentioning time zones, how do you specifically handle time zone issues?
So time zones is generally, because I'm the one that chairs the meetings, we normally have to work around my schedule.
Of course.
Which can be a bit chaotic at times with work. So normally we're pretty good, but we use straw poll to get a convenient time for most people, and we try and get the most people we can to a meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of where I was leaning, I guess, is the behind the scenes, what you need to know, what useful tools are there for running a community across time zones. And straw poll is definitely a great one. I know when we did an interaction with Unorthoblocks, they use the When to Meet website, which you kind of drag a box over the available times that you've got. We use straw poll. It puts it all in a long list, and you can click what times you're available, what times you might be available, and it works across time zones, which is the essential thing here. Of course, we've got time zones all over, even just in this room. You know, we've got 3 from different parts of the US, different parts of the UK right here. And then even in, in chat, we've got Leonie in South Africa, Jess UK, We've got members from all over. I think our Australians are probably is it sleeping time yet? Or is it, I think it's early morning, Australia.
I think
I'm
it's early
bad with
morning.
time still.
No idea. No idea.
I have it right here. It is 5:20 a.m. roughly in the morning.
Ooh.
So that's really important. And then the extension of that is once we've got those times figured out, we've been using a website called Hammer Time, which you stop. Hammer Time. Sorry.
Boo. Boo.
I know.
Boo.
Hey, you all chose to be here. But Hammer Time, you put the time in your time zone and then copy and paste the link, and it will show that time in everybody else's time zone. So you're going to see that here in the community Discord itself, because we use that all the time just to tell you that, hey, this is what time it is in your time zone for this event that's coming up, like chats.
I use something very similar called Sesh, which does exactly the same thing. You post a code. You basically put the time you want, you post a code into Discord, and then it tells you the time in local time.
So do you use that within Discord, or do you use the
No,
website?
I just use it's a website. Same sort of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I use that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I use Sesh as well. Yeah.
Sesh sounds familiar. We might have to check into that. I know Hammer Time's the one that's pinned to my board, so
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. I've got that
Fair
saved on my
enough.
phone. I spend a lot of time in Discord on my phone.
right. And then I think I just have a note here that says we used to use Doodle way back in the day. It's been years now, but it got more and more user unfriendly and added more and more ads. And
yeah, Doodle. I remember using Doodle when I first joined in season 2.
yeah, we moved on
then
from that.
Then it got really really bad.
I don't even specifically remember what happened. I just knew it just got more and more inconvenient.
I can't remember what happened. I have a feeling it went to a paid platform.
Right.
And the free one was really bad.
Ooh, Leonie says that she uses Zachary's Discord timestamp maker. That might be something worth checking out.
I think they all use essentially the same process, to be fair. But yeah.
Right. That's true. It would be nice to have one that was really quick and convenient within the Discord, though. I know Hammer Time's got one. I've tried to use it. It's kind of clunky within the Discord.
That doesn't surprise me.
Right. But going on from there, as far as communication and choosing things, whether it's time zones or big decisions, we do a lot of voting within Channel 64 for any major decisions. Anything small, there are some things that we kind of will make the decision, but the voting is always an option. So like, for example, with different mods and things, we'll add things in and put that up for a vote if it needs to, if it's a big enough that's a game changer, or other things that we'll just kind of run through. But lately we have been using Google Forms. Loki, do you want to say a little bit on Google Forms, I guess?
I mean, I don't use Google Forms too much, but yeah, it's been a good way to like just set up votes for different things, whether we're looking at server candidates or just even just setting up votes to, allow folks to either participate or not participate in the vote if they just straight up don't care about, whatever we're voting on. They're just indifferent about it. But it's a good way to keep it all organized so that we can also track those responses. Or in the case of like sometimes when we're looking at like server candidates, it's like to keep track of who we've looked at in the past and stuff like that. So if we want to say, oh yeah, this is person's good, but maybe not right now, and we can kind of refer back to that later on.
Yeah, there was a long time where we did votes within the Discord, and while that was convenient for members, it made it all anonymous, which again, another perk. I like the idea of anonymity, but at the same time, when we moved to Google Forms, it really unlocked a new level of like tracking and statistics. And I know that sounds really nerdy, but being able to go back and say, well, we voted for this person in the past, but also it was a long time ago. It might be worth a revote once per season or something like that. Or also, hey, we've already reached out to this person, even sometimes is important to know and be able to remember and find that information. Are there any other, let's see, I know we've done it within Discord, we've done Google Forms. Are there any other decision making communication notes that we wanted to go over or things we've used?
Meetings. It's very basic, but sometimes we make decisions in our monthly meetings.
Absolutely. And yeah, that's a huge opportunity to not only talk through things and have that opportunity to get one-on-one time in the setting that is hey, we're here to talk about X, Y, and Z. But it also allows for accountability within the things that we voted on or things we said we'd do. Um, if last meeting we went over updating something in the Discord or updating something within the game, it's easy for those things to get left behind when you're worried about content and everything else. But when you've got meetings and you've got these notes, you've got the accountability to say, hey, we forgot about this. Let's go back. We need to do that yet.
And going back to the anonymity thing, sometimes it is a bit of a curse. I'm not going to lie. An instance we had recently was we were voting on mods to add to Battlecraft. And I use Easy Poll in Discord and set up anonymous voting. And then some mods got voted against. And I wanted to speak to people to find out why.
Yeah.
And like the anonymity thing kind of just, I couldn't go directly to them. I had to say who voted against it. So yeah, sometimes it's a godsend, and sometimes it's like, actually, I just want to have a chat with you and see what your thoughts were on it, because I want to know why and what your reasoning was. Which I suppose sometimes that's like Liv said, meetings are the place for those discussions to happen.
But it brings up a good point that, in that open discussion, some people aren't always as comfortable, jumping out in the midst of I have no clue. I set myself up for failure. I don't know, 16 people meeting, more than that. I think we've got supporting cast, so it's probably up near 20. But, that's a lot of people to jump up in front of and say your opinion, especially if it differs. I do entirely agree, though, with that. We started out with a lot of anonymity when we were small, and it made more sense maybe when we were small. But as we grew, we definitely realized that on some level, there needs to be a trust between somebody to be in charge of those results, if that makes sense. So I am the one that sees all that stuff. I'm not going around telling everybody, but at the same time, like you said, it opens up the opportunity that, hey, if you were the person that didn't vote on this, but everybody else voted for it, I'd like to have the talk with you to see how important this is to you. Is this something you don't prefer it, but you're going to be all right? Or is this something that you've got a genuine concern that no one else thought of?
Exactly. Yeah.
I was gonna say sometimes with the anonymous voting too, since you can see the counts, yay or nay or whatever, it could dissuade you from voting in a certain way as well if you know that, oh, well, this isn't going to pass or something like that. So it's good to have that, be anonymous in the sense that you don't know how everybody else is voting right away, but you can also see how that person's voting so that you can talk to them about different things.
Yeah, and Google Forms has really opened that up for us because no one knows what everyone else is voting, but also it opens the opportunity for short form answers of, you know, so like with our server candidates, it's got all of these quick votes. You go in, you can link to it, you can check out what's going on, you can vote on somebody for, against, indifferent, and you can get to the bottom of that document and it'll say, hey, what are your thoughts? Is there anybody you're especially interested in and excited for? Or is there somebody that you've got concerns about?
Yeah, for sure.
In short, more information is always better. So having the respect amongst your team and like the trust that you're not going to abuse the information of knowing who voted what, but also being able to have those conversations is super important. I agree that that's a great channel that we've learned and grown throughout the years on.
Sorry, there's a couple of things I'd like to add on the whole Google form thing, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I just realised I've been muted.
Oh, no.
no.
I was gonna chime in on a few things, but I was like, oh, right. First thing I was gonna say is I think it's really important that everyone gets to express their opinion and for everyone's opinion to be on the same level. And I think doing something like Google Forms allows that, where people who are, again, like we were saying, they may be a bit anxious about speaking out their thoughts in meetings and stuff like that. It really alleviates that pressure. But there's also, I think, a really important thing we've been doing is the season check-in survey, to really get an idea on how people are doing during the season and how their plans are coming together, how their creativity is, whether they've got any issues with anything going on. I think it's a really important piece of information to get, and to do it in the form of like Google Forms. Again, it just gives people the opportunity to say exactly what they need to say. So yeah,
I think I'm going to pinch Google Forms as an idea. Sounds
Please
way
do.
better.
It really is good.
Yeah.
I'll have to send you some of the things that we do, especially like Archie said, the season check-in form has been very essential this year. So with last year, you reach a point in the SMP where inspiration goes down over the time of the season. Your play time, things are going to change, and it's really hard as a server management team, I guess we'll say, to know if it's your fault, to know if people are engaged and having fun because, everybody's there and everybody's having fun, or if because life has happened and they're really dealing with something. And again, we try to communicate all of that, but at the same time, that fluctuates week to week, month to month, day to day, even, like you never know what's holding somebody back or what's got them really excited. And so having that check-in form has been really nice. I think we're trying for like every 3 months or something, just to say, hey, how are things going? Like, is there anything in real life that's kind of holding you back from playing? Are you feeling inspired? Do you need some collab time? Do you need somebody to come build with, or something exciting? Or even how much time do you think you need to finish up the things that you want to do this season? We've been using ours as a running gauge of how much time is left. So
Yeah.
I won't say that out loud, how much time is left. But we have an idea roughly of when we're thinking. And even as of most recently, a lot of people have been saying, hey, I'm starting to get concerned. And while that's going to happen, we'll know better in the next season check-in if we need to add more time or not.
Yeah.
And I think there's always opportunities as well for with good communication trying to alleviate a lot of the issues that could come up in season check-in. Like as of today, we've put a new feature in the creator Discord for a brainstorming area for anyone who's struggling with nailing down a creative idea. They can sort of pitch what they're thinking about, and people can chime in and really try and nail down an idea for someone, because that whole period of creative block can really set things back for people, and sometimes it's really hard to dig out of it by yourself. So anything we could do together is going to help each other and make the server better, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Let's see. Are there any other kind of general notes on meetings or communication before we continue forward?
Hey, I learned from the best in the business.
Hey, that's why you're here. No, I'm kidding.
A lot of what we do on Battlecraft has come from learning from Errington. So, yeah, thanks, Errington.
Well, I
Stolen
didn't
all
mean
your
to set it up
ideas.
for that. But, no, but at the same time, we learn as we go. And I think meetings are a huge opportunity to grow continuously. And so that is why you're here on some level, is because I know that you've had that inspiration, and I want to know where you've grown with it. Like, what have you learned since then? And it's interesting that I don't know if we still did an anonymity when you were around, but knowing that you found out the same thing, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Season 2 we did do anonymity for sure. But depends on the thing you're voting on as well. For a mod, that adds some stairs into the game, then that probably doesn't need to be anonymous. But
Of course.
yeah,
And there are some decisions that you kind of just have to make, Loki stepped away for a minute, but as far as mods or different things that you add to the game, there are quality of life things that somebody has to make the decision, because unfortunately we can't vote on everything or we would never get anything done. So having the opportunity for somebody to be responsible for that role and that job, we trust Loki just as much as people trust me to hold the meetings and the admin and know these things, but we trust Loki to do what's best for the server. And if there is something that we disagree with, that's not a problem either, because we can set up a vote, we can discuss it in a meeting, we can communicate it, and we can make the best choice for Channel 64 together.
absolutely.
I think something that comes to mind recently was we were having trouble with one of our sitting mods. Well, there's only one. We were having trouble sitting. It's kind of need to do that. We like sitting here. So we had to change one out. I don't even remember if we voted on that or not, but then that one was having problems, so Loki just took it upon himself to figure out which one worked, and he just did it. We didn't vote on that, and we probably didn't need to vote on that. It is a mod, it is a decision, but we trust Loki to make the right decision to find the right mod for us, and he got all taken care of. And if we had voted on that, we could be 2 weeks and no sit. 2 weeks no sit. That's no fun. So yeah, I just wanted to say that because that's what I was thinking of. Is sometimes some things don't need votes. We can trust people to make decisions for us on things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Casey, did you have a further thought there?
I did. I forgot what it was, but I've just thought of something else.
Okay, that'll work.
So I do have a story about a time where we didn't vote on adding some mods in, and it wasn't the right decision. So when we started Battlecraft in 1.19, And when Cobblemon updated to 1. What is Cobblemon 1.4, that updated to 120. And we were looking at 120 mods, and we added loads of stuff in and thought, oh, this is good. We could open so many doors. And we added far too many mods in that didn't fit the vibe at all, and then went live with it. And let's just say that decision is something that I feel very, very guilty about, and something that we're not going to do again. So we're trying to hold off on adding stuff at the moment that doesn't fit the vibe. But yeah, there was a few conversations with people about that, and some sorries.
Right. But see,
Yeah.
having the responsibility and the openness to be able to talk about that now is why I would trust you as a leader, you know, because you've learned from your mistakes and you've grown, and that's what really matters when it comes to leadership, is taking those opportunities to mess up and say, hey, I did mess up.
Mhm.
You know, there are things I could have done better, and things we're going to do better because of it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, with that, I guess we will jump into the next topic a little bit of, so, you know, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on disputes quickly, as it's a huge part of communication, but also something that's a little more private within each SMP. So, you know, we're not going to go into the ins and outs and the specifics of details or any kind of situations or anything like that. But, you know, since our very first meeting, we had a disputes role. People to go to if you ever had any issues. There's also a Google form that you can fill out with any complaints. You know, we've already talked about our love for Google Forms. However, there are some downsides. You know, we found out that Google Forms will, you know, you can set them up to email somebody or email one person, but that's not the quickest response times. And so lately, what we've been doing is figuring out a situation that we can do ticketing through Discord within threads. It's a little clunky. We're waiting for Discord to introduce private forums, but it does work. And it allows us to have an instant channel of communication between a member and the whole of the disputes team, rather than going through the form and waiting for that information to be passed along. It also allows for the disputes team to discuss issues privately within the confines of the Discord, as well as everything can be, you know, recorded for history and just an opportunity to continue to learn and grow. As we said, with every issue, there is an opportunity to learn. Now, I think that is the quick synopsis of disputes. Like I said, we'll answer any questions as far as like how we do what we do, but for the most part, I think we'll go ahead and keep running from then right on to the history of meetings and what that means, being able to have that. So we have recorded our meetings since March 2021. Our very first meeting with 4 members, me, Dave, Low Res Bones, and Mellington City, or Melly. Technically 5, though. I just re-listened to a bit of it, and Doc was there. While he's an actor, he was there. And he was just as unhinged as always. We love him. But to show how old that was, the beginning of the meeting said, "Welcome to what was formerly known as the Untitled SMP, but we're going to name it by the end of this meeting." It's fantastic, but that is something that we have that is so unique and special to me, is a history of all of the opportunities that we've learned and grown from. A history of all of the meetings and all of the things we were working on each month to month to month. It's really special that that's there. Am I going to go listen to every month? No, but I have checked in on previous. And this is where the synopsis that Archie's been working on, the Archie notes, has been really cool to be able to just skim back through a meeting. I know I check the notes on the previous meeting every time I'm scheduling a new meeting now to make sure, again, that I'm accountable for, did I say I was going to do something last month that's not done? Is there something that we need to touch on again? Is there something that wasn't ready for a decision then that we need to work on now? Um, there's all kinds of things there. And along with that, as I said, we've recorded those meetings. And so beyond those notes is an opportunity for anybody that missed something to go listen, to catch up, to listen to the meetings and see what people were talking about, the vibes, like what they felt about it. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I get very emotional about the idea of our growth from March 2021 to August 2024, and having that on a timeline is immensely special to me.
That's 3.5 years of meetings. Just about. That's a long time. That's a lot of meetings.
It's a lot of growth. It's a lot of things that we have figured out, and it's really the basis for chats is an opportunity to share what we've learned over those 3.5 years. I don't know if anybody will ever listen to chats and think it's the next big thing, and I really don't care. I care that the people that are here in the Discord are here now, that they care enough to hear what we have to say, and I hope that they learn from it in an opportunity to go make their own SMP, or to solve problems outside of this. Communication is a skill that goes far beyond Minecraft. And it's really special to me. And I'm sorry, I'm getting like way sappy, but but it's been really cool to take this as an opportunity then too to interact with other SMPs and see what they've learned on their journey. And so again, that's why I think it's so cool having Casey here from Battlecraft, who's was part of Channel 64 in season 2, and previously, we've talked with Rustic Dragon, we've talked with Jampot Bong, and all of these different SMPs to see how they've grown in similar directions, but completely separately. Or now that we are together, that what you can learn from each other is really cool. That's our fearless leader right there. Great speeches. Thank you, Fish. Thank you.
Applause.
Hey.
Yeah!
But aside from a specific outro speech I have prepared, that's what I have to say about meetings and communication. And I am open to any questions the community has or any other thoughts that we've got here within the group. I'm both like impressed that we've made it so long, but also I feel like that went so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So did I join you guys in 2022? It was, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Oh. Ooh. It's like 2 years. That's 2 years ago.
I know. Just a blip
it
in
was
the
2 years ago.
timeline.
Oh my. Oh my.
My whole thought on the whole communication process is that it's always going to be a learning process, but we're always going to do the best job that we can on it, because the thing is, we all care about each other in this community, and making sure everyone is in their best place, has access to everything they need, are fully updated on everything, happy with where things are going, is really, really key to how things run, because otherwise people are just going to be left with feeling like they're not a part of the community if they're not informed about everything, or if they don't have decisions about how things are done. So I think it's one of the most important things we do, and like I said, I think we do the best job we can, and we just keep working at it.
Absolutely. And I think there is some room, in you saying that, I think there is some room for members that are not as invested or not as available sometimes. Obviously, we've got Dave in Australia who can't always make it to every meeting. Or we've got different people with different work schedules that can't always make to every meeting. And again, the information's there if they need it, but at the same time, if they're just here to kind of log on, play Minecraft, make content, and log out, that's fine. And I think there is something to say about coming to terms with that too, and like being all right with that. That's not wrong. They're not doing anything wrong. That's what they're here for, and that's what if we've made a community and a place where they can feel safe and comfortable doing that, meetings or not, whether they're there or not, that's good. That's all that matters to me, you know?
Oh yeah, and absolutely. And but the thing is, like, certain decisions that are made on the server are still going to affect them, so they still have the opportunity to give their thoughts if they need to is still very important. But yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Whichever, you know, uh, we're not forcing anyone to play in a specific way or anything. It's all about just having a healthy, happy community where people are doing the kind of content or just playing Minecraft the way they want to.
Absolutely. And I mean, it kind of comes back to play styles. You know, different people have different play styles, which extends to what they're expecting and their expectations of an SMP. And that's another thing that we check in with when we're doing orientation and all of the fun things that we're not going to get back into. But just managing and making sure that the expectations are on the same level is huge. But in short, what that means for Channel 64 as a whole, I think, is a commitment to always improve. I think the short version of everything we said today is communicate, communicate, communicate. Strive to keep everyone up to date with what's going on. Make sure that information is available for anybody that wants it, anybody that needs it, and always try to improve. As Casey said, you know, there are times where you're going to mess up. That's okay. As long as you're willing to take ownership and learn from that, there's nothing better in a leader. And having meetings just gives us a monthly check-in to ensure that we're always doing that. And that's what I've got to say for the day.
Yay!
Very well said.
Very, very well.
So I think that's all the time we have for today then. A reminder for anyone watching on YouTube, this was recorded live in the Channel 64 community Discord. So if you want to join and hang out with us in the future and ask questions, make sure you follow that link below to join us. We'll see you next time.
Love you all, bye!
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
I don't know, I think meetings and communication is such a pivotal part of what we're doing. And I think there's so much to be said about, like, when you're starting an SMP, what are you expecting? You know, you're expecting a community, like, you're expecting to play Minecraft with people. You're not expecting planning meetings, taking notes, having votes, having, you know, like, all of these things that you just have to figure out along the way.